Good morning, students. I hope all are well and doing good. Now we are going to start about the unit number 5, strategic perspectives in entrepreneurship. So in the unit number 4 we are observing about what are the legal challenges faced by the entrepreneurship. Now we are going to observe about what are the strategic perspectives in entrepreneurship. So the nature of planning in emerging firms. Most entrepreneurs planning for their ventures is informal and unsystematic. The need for formal, systematic planning arises when the firm is expanding with constantly increasing personal size as well as its market operations. A high degree of uncertainty exists, then there is strong competition, there is a lack of adequate experience, either technological or business. So in the dimensions or in the factors, so there is a requirement of the formal as well as the systematic planning is required. Now we are going to move about what is the meaning of the strategic planning. The formulation of long-range plans for the effective management of environmental opportunities and threats in light of a venture's strength and weakness. So normally we are going to call about this one as a SWOT analysis, SWOT, strength, weakness and opportunities and threats. Strength, weakness comes under the internal environment and opportunities and threats comes under the external environment of the venture. So it includes defining the venture's mission, specifying achievable objectives, developing strategies, setting policy guidelines. So what are the things in the part of strategic planning? Here we are going to define what is the venture's mission and we are going to specify what are the objectives have to achieve and strategies developed as well as policy guidelines also framed. Basic steps in strategic planning. First we have to examine the internal and external environments of the venture. Formulate the venture's long-range as well as short-range strategies like mission, objectives, strategies, policies, procedures and goals. And implement the strategic plan like programs, budgets, procedures. Evaluate the performance of the strategy. Take follow-up action through continuous feedback. So this is the strategic management process. In your 4th semester, you have one subject, that one strategic management. In that, the total strategic management process consists of the 3 phases: strategic inputs, strategic actions, strategic outcomes. Okay. What are the key dimensions influencing a firm's strategic planning activities? Demand on strategic managers' time, decision making speed, problems of internal politics, environmental uncertainty, the entrepreneur's vision. So here, commitment to an open planning process, accountability to a corporate concern, establishment of a pattern of subordinate participation in the development of the strategic plan. So these are the key dimensions which influence a firm's strategic plans. The lack of strategic planning. So when there is no strategic planning, what happens and what are the reasons for the lack of strategic planning? Time scarcity, lack of knowledge about that, lack of expertise or skills, lack of trust and openness, perception of high cost. So these are the reasons of the lack of strategic plan. That means there is no strategic plan in the venture. And what is the importance of the strategic planning? That means what is the value of strategic planning? So with the help of the strategic planning, we can find the strategic studies. Strategic planning is of value to a venture, and that planning influences a venture's survival. What are the benefits of long range planning? Cost savings, more efficient resource planning, improved competitive position, more timely information, accurate forecast, reduced feelings of uncertainty, faster decision making, fewer cash flow problems. Next, what are the strategic planning levels? Strategic planning categories. There is 3 categories are there. Category 1, there is no written plan. Category 2, moderately sophisticated planning. Category 3, sophisticated planning. So it gives more than 88% of firms with category 2 or 3 planning performed at or above the industry average compared with only 40% of firms with category 1 planning. That means if you are going to use the category 1 planning, you are going to get the 40%, as well as if you are going to use the category 2 and category 3, when you compare to industry average, it is going to give 88%. All research indicates firms that engage in strategic planning are more effective than those that do not have. The planning process rather than merely the plans is a key to successful performance. There are the fatal visions in strategic planning, that means mistakes that entrepreneurs fall prey to in their attempt to implement a strategy. Misunderstanding industry attractiveness, no real competitive advantage, pursuing an unattainable competitive position, compromising strategy for growth, failure to expressly communicate the venture strategy to their employees. So the integration of entrepreneurial as well as the strategic actions. So you can clearly observe here what are the entrepreneurial actions and what are the strategic actions. With the integration of these two, we are going to create the wealth. Now we are going to understand or observe what are the entrepreneurial ventures as well as strategic actions we are going to integrate. Innovation, networks, internalization, organizational learning, top management teams and governance, and last one, growth. With these integrations, we are going to create the wealth. Strategic position or positioning, another concept is there. Strategic positions are often not obvious, and finding them requires creativity and insight a problem, or unique positions that have been available but simply overlooked by established competitors. It can help entrepreneur ventures prosper by occupying a position that a competitor once held but has ceded through years of imitation and straddling. So here we can clearly approach about the strategic positions, strategic leverages as well as the strategic opportunities. We call about the different type of strategic approaches in the view of the position and leverage opportunities. You can clearly observe what are the logic, steps, questions, sources of advantages, works, duration of advantage, what are the risk bear, what are the performance goals. So there is another example given here, entrepreneur strategy matrix regarding to the dependable variables. It is for your understanding purpose. So horizontal we are going to take about the risk and vertical we are going to take about the innovation, and based on the creating a unique and different products as well as probability of major financial loss. So this is a entrepreneur strategy matrix. And same here, you observe here entrepreneur strategy matrix based on independent variables, and this one entrepreneur strategy matrix based on the appropriate strategies. And next one concept is venture development stages. Life cycle stages of an enterprise based on the Chandler. The four stages are there. First one, initial expansion and accumulation of resources. Rationalization of the use of resources. Expansion into new markets to assure the continued use of resources. Development of new structures to ensure continuing mobilization of resources. So this new venture development, startup activities, venture growth, business stabilization and innovation or decline. I think in a marketing management you learn about the new product development cycle. Product development life cycle. Same. Entrepreneur company in the 21st century. What are the major challenges faced by the entrepreneur companies in 21st century? First one, building dynamic capabilities that are differentiated from those of emerging competitors. Internal utilization of the creativity and knowledge from employees. External search for external competencies to complement the firm's existing capabilities. So regarding to that one, there is the entrepreneur mindset. So vertical we are going to take about the perceived capability, and horizontal we take about the future goals. So this is the differentiation based on that who are comes under the entrepreneur, who are comes under the stratified manager, who comes under the strategic bureaucrat, and who are comes under the frustrated manager. So these are the four things will be there. Next concept is building the adaptive firm. An adaptive firm. So what is the meaning of adaptive firm? That one increases opportunity for its employees, initiates the changes and instills a desire to be innovative. How we are going to remain a adaptive as well as innovative firm in the continuous process? So you have to follow some guidelines. First one, share the entrepreneur's vision. Increase the perception of opportunity. Initialize change as a venture's goal. Instill the desire to be innovative. That means make a reward system and follow the environment that allows for failure, flexible operations, the development of venture teams. The transition from an entrepreneur style to a managerial approach. So, if your business is going to increase, that means your venture going to in the growth stage, you are converted from the entrepreneur approach to managerial approach. So, what are the impediments in the transition process? A highly centralized decision making system, a over dependence on one or two key individuals, and adequate repertoire of managerial skills and training, a paternalistic atmosphere. So this is the entrepreneurial cultures versus the administrative culture. Strategic orientation, commitment of the resources, control of the resources, management structures, and commitment to seize the opportunities. And when we go into the transition from the entrepreneur style to management approach, when the organization growing as well as expansion. So these are the things we are going to adapt the changes. So here we are focused about the entrepreneur focus, and here we are going to focusing about the administrative way. So how we are going to balance the focus of entrepreneur versus manager. So entrepreneur's point of view, where is the opportunity? How do I capitalize on it? What resources do I need? How do I gain control over them? What structure is best? So in the view of the administrative view, what resources do I control? What structure determines our organization's relationship in the market? How can I minimize the impact of others on my ability to perform? What opportunity is appropriate for a particular situations? And another concept, we can clearly understand about the growth stage. If you are not clearly understanding about the growth stage, it is very difficult to you. Why? Because always you cannot run the venture as in the entrepreneur mode. Once your market shares increase, that means the sales increase, your size of the organization increase, you are going to growth or expansion of your venture. Ultimately, you have to change from entrepreneurial venture to managerial approaches. So in the process, we have to consider about the key factors during the growth stage. In that first one, very important one is control. Does the control system imply trust? Does the resource allocation system imply trust? Is it easier to ask permission than to ask forgiveness? Responsibility. Creating a sense of responsibility that establishes flexibility, innovation, and a supportive environment. And regarding to tolerance of failure, moral failure, personal failures, as well as uncontrollable failures, change. Managing paradox and contradictions, bureaucratization versus decentralization, environment versus strategies, strategic emphasis, quality versus cost versus innovation. So, what are the confronting the growth war? So, how we are going to successful growth oriented firms have exhibited consistent themes they followed. The entrepreneur is able to envision and anticipate the firm as a large entity. The team needed for tomorrow is hired and developed today. The organizational core vision of the firm is constantly and jealously reinforced. Hierarchy is minimized. Employees hold a financial stake in the firm. So these are the confronting are there at the time of the growth. And what are the unique managerial concerns of growing ventures? So whenever the venture is growing, we have to consider about regard to managerial concerns is one person band syndrome. That means earlier you have the single one, or 2 or 3 person limited human people is there. But once you are going to the growth, the person going to increase. Second one, time management, community pressures, continuous learning, distinction of small size. So these are the managerial concerns where you are going to take care about. That too, these are unique. That means the venture to venture it is going to change. Achieving a entrepreneurial leadership in the new millennium. First, we are going to know what is the entrepreneur leadership. Arises when an entrepreneur attempts to manage a fast-paced, growth-oriented company. Right? What are the components of entrepreneurial leadership is determining the firm's purpose or vision, exploiting and maintaining the core competencies, developing human capital, sustaining an effective organizational culture, emphasizing ethical practices, establishing balanced organizational controls. Now we are going to move what are the government schemes for entrepreneurs. So if you observe this picture, you are going to understand what are the schemes provided by the government. In the meanwhile, we are going to look one by one. The short form, not the big form. Why? Because the schemes, government schemes always changed their time to time. So new schemes they introduced, old schemes they modified, the existing schemes modified, some schemes withdrawn, like that. It will change evergreen. So one government change, the policies also change. That's it. Government schemes. The government of India has undertaken several initiatives and instituted policy measures to foster a culture of innovation and entrepreneurship in the country. With a significant and unique demographic advantage in India, however, has immense potential to innovate, raise entrepreneurs and create jobs for the benefit of nation as well as the world. Startup India, you can observe the video, we are not going to in depth. Make in India concept. Now it is one of the important point where we are going to discuss about Make in India. Already we know that from the after 1991, the world became a liberalization, privatization and globalization. We call about the LPG era. So instead of developing or producing or manufacturing the products in your country, you are going to import where the products available in cheaper. Now what happened? Due to the COVID-19, the China shut down or locked down. And most of the world depend of their imports from China only. Now what happened? Even they are unable to develop or produce small things also. Even most of the countries import mask from the China. So that is the situation. To overcome the situation, the government of India in the year 2014 given the Make in India concept. Atal Innovation Mission. Support to training and employment program for the women. Sorry. This is Biotechnology Industry Research Assistance Council. This is Stand Up India, which started in the year 2015, and especially this given to the benefit of women entrepreneurs, scheduled caste as well as the scheduled tribes. Most of the weaker sections to develop this Stand Up India in the view of the Startup India. Trade related entrepreneurship assistance and development. So you observe the logo MSME, micro, small and medium enterprises. Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana scheme. Same department, Ministry of Skills Development and Entrepreneurship. National Skill Development Mission, which is launched in the year 2015. So they develop the skills of our youth. So based on the National Skill Development Mission, there is several submissions are there: institutional training, infrastructure, convergence, trainers, overseas employment, sustainable livelihoods, leveraging public infrastructure. And now we are going to understanding about, especially there is 9 schemes for women entrepreneurs in India. Trade scheme for women, Bharati Mahila Bank, now it merged into the SBI, ALIP, Akshaya Mahila, Atrik Sahay Yojana, Andhra Bank also now merged in the Union Bank of India, Oriental Bank of Commerce also merged. And you can clearly observe the 9th point, that is Marketing Fund for Women, SIDB, Small Industrial Development Bank of India. This is established by itself to provide the financial services towards the Small Industrial Development Bank in India. So thank you for listening. So any questions you can, or any queries you can raise through my WhatsApp or my mail ID.